Hey guys, today we're going to talk all about titles. Now you're probably wondering, titles? What do we need to know titles for? Now it's super important because let's say you're reading a really good book and you see the title of the book in one of the chapters and you're like, why is that underlined? Well, it's underlined because it's super important and it's a major part of what the book is because it's the title. Now, let's say you're reading your book and you see the title of the chapter in one of this, and let's say you read chapter 3. Okay? But you see the title of chapter 1 in it. Now, you're probably wondering, why is it in quotation marks? Well, that's because it is a part of the major or important aspect of the book. So it's part of the big picture. And we underline the important or major things, such as books, magazines, newspapers, and movies. Yes, I know. They're major and important things. Now, the reason I say major and important is because they're huge things. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I know they're huge things. You keep saying it over and over. Well, what I mean by that is, if I say Harry Potter, what do you think? You think of a book. When I say Avengers, you think of movies. They're important. Does that make sense? Now, when it comes to quotation marks, now, I would put quotes around examples. I would put quotes around book chapters, poems. So look, book chapters, poems, songs, articles, and even short stories. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I don't know what some of those are. The Telltale Heart? That's a short story. What about 10,000 Reasons? That's a great song. You would put those things in quotation marks. Okay, now with that little bit of information, let's move on to some things that are not capitalized in a title. Now, let's say we're looking at the title. You're reading the book Harry Potter and the Goblet. Now, give me a second to write this down. The Goblet of Fire. Now, Now, in this title, you see of right here. Now, I'm gonna underline it in a different color. That way you can see it. This of is not capitalized. Why, do you ask? You're just like, it is what it is. Well, no, there's a reason. Now, of is one of those words that, doesn't have importance in this title. Goblet and fire. Those are important words in the title. They're telling you two specific things that the story is covering. Okay? And of is just saying it's the goblet of fire. Does that make sense? So of does not serve any importance. So therefore, of would not be capitalized. Now, let's rewind for a second. Because if a, of, in, or the is at the beginning of a title, it is capitalized. Now, you're probably thinking, well, you just said they're not supposed to be capitalized. If they're in the middle of a title. If you see a, of, in, or the at the very beginning of a title, it is capitalized. Think of it as these words being at the very beginning of a sentence. Does that make sense? The dog ate his bone. I would capitalize the for the dog. Does that make sense? Here, let me write one down. That way you can just see what I'm talking about, okay? Okie dokie. So I wrote down The Swing. Now, that's the title of a real poem, I promise. So, when you look at the word the, be honest with me, the T in the is capitalized because it is at the beginning of the title. Does that make sense? Okay. If you have any questions over that, please make sure you private message me or you email me. Okay. Now, we have a few more things to cover. So, how to complete the Google form. So, here is the lowdown of what to do on the Google form for today. So, at the very top of the Google form, you will see this fabulous box that I have put on there for you, okay? Now, this is there for you to refer back to. Now, I'm going to look at number 1. So, the daily journal. So, it's already capitalized. The words that need to be capitalized are already capitalized. Now, what you need to look for is what is in parentheses. So, this word right here, newspaper. So, that tells me that it's important. So, I know that if something is important, like a book or a magazine or newspapers or movies, they are underlined. Okay, so I know right off the bat that I'm going to choose underlined. Okie dokie. Awesome. Now I'm going to move on. Now, I'm going to look at number 2. School sports. It's an article. Okay? So, I'm going to look at the word in parentheses right here. Article. Now, I'm going to look back at that top photo, and I'm going to remember. Article. Well, it's not as important, but it's still important. But it's not in the important category that would be considered underlined. But if I look right here at this third bullet point, I see short stories, I see songs, articles. Ooh, that's the word I'm looking for. Book chapters and poems. Now, I just said I needed to look for where article is. That would be considered quotation marks. So that means school sports would be in quotation marks. That's all you're going to do. Okie dokie. I hope this makes sense. And please, 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 guess what? Send me a private message saying that you watched the video. If you do that, you might just get a sweet message back. Okie dokie. I will see you guys later. Miss you so much.